Okay. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near a Facebook or a YouTube like top content creator or anything. But I just watched Casey Neistat's one of his more recent videos about, he had an interview with one of the head people at YouTube Business, and I just wanted to create a unedited version of my reaction. I love the questions Casey asked him, because the questions that he asked were from a creator's perspective, but within the understanding that, within his empathy of who this guy was through reading his book. And I thought that specifically, the fact that he was able to admit understanding this guy because of his book shows that this man, which I forget his name, I'll pull it up, but he had offered transparency to Casey and proved why transparency is something that's so important. But I found that interesting because his name was Robert. I found that interesting though, because he literally proved the point of why transparency is so useful, and especially on a platform like YouTube. Why, I question why he started the interview. Robert was saying how he's a little bit nervous about communicating to the YouTube community when they just proved that transparency is something that's so valuable. It confuses me that he would be like concerned with trying to do something like this on Casey's channel when it's very evident why. And they were talking about how like communication is a problem that the YouTube creators have with the like business side of things, and it confused me as to why that would be something he was afraid of if he was aware of that. So I guess if I were to personally recommend anything for the business side of things is, communicate. Like, shoot, have a channel for just the business side of things, like the business people to create. I mean, not even like big things, but just every once in a while have them all talk in a 10-minute video. Like, it confuses me that such a platform like this, with the kind of power it hasn't inspired them to do something like that. They have that technology to them. They have the ability to communicate in a way that so many others are using this resource, doing exactly that. It's like, it confuses me that they would not realize that. And it's exactly what Casey was saying. Like, I really think it's due to the fact that a lot of the people on the business side of things just they weren't creators. They were never creators. And it's interesting. And I almost want to say, like, why don't we have Casey in there? Like, or someone who's, I mean, he's literally a business owner. Like, he's an entrepreneur. Why is he not one of the people that they're going to be like, we have to make these business decisions. Why don't you help us out? Why not come in during our meetings? Because you have that perspective of a creator that no one in here has. That's so important. I feel like it's a valuable tool. Perspective is such a valuable tool, and especially on such a large platform that affects so many people. It's crazy to me that they haven't figured that out or haven't tried to implement some of that stuff. And Casey's questions were spot on. Like, he was asking, like, why, or what he was asking what Robert's perspective on people saying that, people recommending that, like, maybe there should be some creators in that business side of things. And Robert didn't seem, he offered his background and understanding of content creation, but there are small things on the side of the creator side of things that aren't something that those business people would know. It's very small things, but it can make such an impact, because if you can proactively know how creators will react because of those small things, then you have a step up in terms of looking at the business stuff that you're trying to implement, like the yellow monetization icon. That's such a small thing, and in their eyes, the analytics show that it was a positive thing, but the reality was that it was insulting to some of the big creators like Casey, who found out their video was not being monetized just because YouTube has an algorithm to check it for content, make sure that the content is like good and not like bad and, you know, has cuss words or whatever, like that they can put advertisements on it. Casey found that to be insulting because like it was their algorithm that cut off his income. And obviously he's well off, so it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's like, it's those little things. Like for someone else, that may be a much bigger thing. Like it may cause them to really distrust the business, and trust is something you want to have, especially when you want to communicate, when you want to be able to communicate back and forth and have reliable communication and empathy. And I think that's something that this business just doesn't seem to be understanding. And obviously I come from the perspective of a very small creator. I have no following, and I go to school and I've attempted stuff, but I just, time is kind of a thing and I need to work on studying, so I want to create more. But it's like, for someone like me who no longer will have monetization starting, I guess, in like, I don't remember the date, today's the 14th, so in a couple days, it blows my mind that like my small amounts of monetization were like just small incentives. Like I think I have like $5 on the channel or something, and it was like those little things. It was like, oh, that's cool, like I could really do this. And like those little incentives kind of boosted me to kind of want to do more. It's like, well, shoot, I mean, I've seen people telling me that I can really, you know, make a living off of this, and I've seen people do it. It's not impossible. It's absolutely within my reach. I just have to create content. So then it was kind of like, it started a thought process, and it was for like people like me. Like I was going to attempt to do it. I mean, obviously I didn't completely, so that's a whole nother story, but that's the thing. It's like, imagine my perspective multiplied by however many other people also experience that or won't experience that. It's a small thing. It's a small incentive that makes a difference. And with a company this big, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me that they haven't figured this out. They quite literally have the platform for the best kind of like real communication. That's the thing about YouTube. It's raw. It's us. It's people. It's just anyone can pick up a camera and post it on YouTube, and that's what makes YouTube, you know? It's like anyone can suddenly become a newscaster and start their own news channel. Like it's stuff like that, and it's right under their it's like inside their house, or it's in their backyard, and they're not like taking a look in the backyard to go like use and utilize and learn from this thing that they own and have and are trying to make better. It's like, if you stopped focusing so much on the exact numbers and stuff like that, I feel like people could just be people and communicate. And I love that Casey's asking for them to communicate on platforms in channels that are like his, where it'll reach a lot of people, and they're warranted interviews. There's been a lot of stuff going on YouTube that they need to like kind of get a hold of, and I think that his asking them to do those interviews is completely justified. It's completely understandable. It's a communication thing. If there was more transparency, a lot of this stuff could be a lot less confusing and shocking to them. He was saying that he was really caught off guard, and he really defended that they really try to work hard at YouTube to really help the creators. And I totally understand. I'm sure they do, but it doesn't come across that way because they're just not communicating. It's small things. It's really small things, and I think they can do it. It's just comes with time, comes with them learning, comes with YouTube creators like Casey making outcry and getting their attention and actually getting them to do these interviews, because I found it to be extremely helpful in understanding what's going on behind the scenes. I think now that I understand, I can rationalize some of their decisions better and understand what makes them make those decisions, and gives me a little hope to, you know, be a female creator on YouTube, because I know that they were talking about that. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to get more into this. I just gotta find some time. But yeah, this is my unedited response to just watching that video like 10 minutes ago. So yeah, I just wanted to put my opinion out there, because freedom of speech was one of the 4 things that he had mentioned were big things that YouTube wants to help. and it's part of their goals. So here's my using my freedom of speech, and now my camera is overheating, so I have to stop talking. But yeah, anyway, deuces.